Okay, wow. Um, this one really has you guys going.
Yeah, it seems like a real head scratcher.
Definitely. And, you're not alone. Like, a lot of people are fascinated by this unsolved murder.
Yeah, it's been 20 years and still no arrests.
Crazy, right? A banker shot right on his doorstep in this quiet little Scottish town. It's the weird stuff.
Yeah.
The details that make you go, huh?
Yeah. Like that Paul envelope?
Yeah, what was that all about? It's so strange.
Mysterious for sure. Empty envelope addressed to Paul. Why show it to the wife? Why take it back?
Right. Like, what was the point? It makes you wonder if it was meant to be a clue or something.
Yeah. Or maybe just a distraction. Throw the investigators off.
Oh, that's interesting. Because at first, the police were all about Alistair's job at the bank.
Right, like maybe he was caught up in some shady financial dealings.
Exactly. But then they totally changed their tune, said it was something in his personal life that got him killed.
Interesting. Must have found something that made them shift gears like that.
Yeah, you have to wonder what it was.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about the weapon they used.
The Helmsmeister.
Yeah. A ladies' gun, they called it. Doesn't exactly scream professional hitman, does it?
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's an odd choice, that's for sure.
Yeah. Maybe it was symbolic somehow. Or just what the killer had on hand. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, so picture this. Scotland. Sunday evening.
Quiet little seaside town.
Right, not exactly known for gangland shootings, right?
Not at all. Alistair and Veronica getting their 2 little boys ready for bed.
2 young sons, yeah.
And then, ding dong.
Doorbell rings.
Around 7 p.m.,
Not even that late.
Veronica answers the door and there's this man standing there.
And he asks for Alistair by name.
Exactly. So right away, we know this wasn't some random attack.
Chilling, right. This guy knew who he was after. So then what happens? The envelope.
Yep. He hands Alistair this blue envelope.
What size was it?
Like a quarter of an A4 sheet, maybe like a greeting card with Paul written on it.
And it's empty.
Totally empty. Can you imagine? You're Alistair, it's Sunday night, some strangers at your door with an empty envelope with some random name on it?
Yeah, I'd be freaked out.
Right. Like, what is going on?
Totally. So what did Alistair do?
Well, he seems to have been a bit thrown by it. He told Veronica it wasn't for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then he went back inside for a second, maybe to show her the envelope. But when he went back to the door...
Oh, no.
3 shots right there on the doorstep.
And the killer just walked away?
Walked away, took the envelope with him, too.
That's so strange. Why 3 shots?
Yeah, that always gets me. It's like more than just a hit.
Okay.
It's angry.
Like a message.
Maybe. Or just losing control. It makes you wonder about the killer's state of mind.
Yeah, good point. Like, if the goal was just to kill him, why the whole envelope routine?
Exactly. Maybe it was about power. Or some weird ritualistic thing. It definitely adds a layer of creepiness.
For sure. Some people think maybe it was supposed to have money in it, or a document.
Yeah, and when Alistair didn't, well...
Things went south.
Fast.
It all ties back to the motive, doesn't it?
Right. Was this a hit gone wrong? Revenge? Was Alistair involved in something he shouldn't have been? We have to figure out what Paul means, too.
Yeah, that's a big one. So many questions.
And not a lot of answers, at least not yet.
Okay, so we've got this weird symbolic murder, a mystery envelope, and a killer who vanishes like a ghost. Where do we even begin to untangle this?
Well, the initial investigation was huge, but it didn't go anywhere. Then there's this whole thing about a decking dispute. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, the decking. Alistair had complained about this big decking area someone wanted to build outside the Havelock Hotel right across from his house.
Yep. Said it would be too noisy, block the view, all that. Seemed like a normal neighborhood squabble.
Totally. But could that really lead to murder?
It seems crazy, right? But people can be unpredictable, especially when it comes to their property.
That's true. And the police did seem to take it seriously. They even went to Canada to talk to the hotel's former owner.
Andy Burnett. Yeah, the guy who wanted to build the decking.
So they were definitely considering that maybe this dispute somehow escalated.
For sure. It's interesting that their focus shifted to Alistair's personal life right around the time this decking thing came up.
So we've got the blue envelope, the weird weapon, and now this decking dispute. 3 puzzle pieces that don't quite fit together yet.
Exactly. Is there a connection? Or are we dealing with multiple motives and suspects? This is where things get really complicated.
It's like we're missing a piece of the puzzle or something.
Yeah, more than one piece, I'd say. We've got these different theories and investigators saying different things, and it's hard to know what to believe.
Right. Like, what about that author, Peter Blexley? He said the killer wasn't even trying to kill Alistair, just negotiate.
Yeah, that's a pretty wild theory, right?
Totally. Makes you wonder, like, negotiate what?
Blexley claims he actually knows who the killer is.
Oh, really? So why not just say who it is?
He says he's protecting his sources, but some people think he's just trying to drum up publicity for his book.
Oh, that makes sense. It's frustrating, though, right? If he has information that could solve this case.
Yeah, it would be nice if he'd just share it. But even if we don't take Blexley's whole story at face value, his theory does raise some interesting questions.
Like, what could they possibly be negotiating about right there on the doorstep?
Exactly. And remember, the killer showed up at Alistair's house on a Sunday evening, knew his name.
It wasn't random, that's for sure. Like, he had a plan.
Right. So maybe the negotiation was part of that plan.
And the envelope, right. Maybe he was expecting Alistair to put something in it.
Money. A document. Some kind of proof.
That would fit with the whole blackmail idea.
True. But then why take the envelope back after shooting Alistair?
Good point.
Oh,
Unless the envelope itself was the message.
what do you mean?
Like, maybe it was a way of saying, we know who you are, or we know what you've done, but without actually saying it.
Wow. That's kind of creepy, actually.
Right, like a silent threat.
It adds a whole other layer to this, doesn't it?
Totally. Okay, so we've got Bleasley's negotiation theory, but then there's that criminologist, David Wilson, who says he got a package with information about a totally different suspect.
Yeah, that's another strange twist.
Do we know what was in the package?
Unfortunately, no. Your sources didn't go into detail about that.
Ugh, it's like every time we get close to an answer, another question pops up.
It's a real mystery, that's for sure. Oh, and don't forget about that new witness.
Oh, yeah, the one who saw a man crying on a bench?
Right. Apparently he was muttering something about a son.
Could that be Bleasley's mystery suspect?
Maybe. Or it could be someone connected to Alistair, grieving his death.
Yeah, so many possibilities. And then there's the whole thing with the police investigation and how Alistair's family filed a complaint.
Oh, right, about how they were misled, about a planned arrest.
Yeah, what was that all about?
Well, it seems the detective in charge, Paul Livingstone, told Veronica they were going to arrest someone, but it never happened.
Seriously? That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if there were other mistakes made during the investigation.
And how that might have affected the case, you know?
Absolutely. It's got to be hard for Alistair's family, knowing there might have been missteps that could have hindered the investigation.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But at least there's a new team on the case now, right? Maybe they'll find something that was missed before.
Let's hope so. They're going back over everything, using new technology and all that.
Maybe they'll finally figure out where that gun came from.
Yeah, the Helmsmeister. Such a rare gun, especially in that part of Scotland.
Remember, the police thought it might be a war trophy from World War II.
Yeah, maybe brought back by a soldier.
Which would make you think the killer would be older, right? Someone who was around during the war.
You'd think so, but they never found any concrete link between the gun and anyone in Nairn.
So that's a dead end. And what about those other two similar guns that were found?
The ones found nearby. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
Super weird. Like, what are the chances?
Even though the police said those other guns weren't connected to the murder, it does make you wonder.
Like, maybe there was something about that specific type of gun that made it appealing to the killer.
Or maybe it was all a distraction, you know? A way to make the police focus on the gun while the killer was doing something else.
Ooh, that's a good point. It's like we're back to square one with the motive.
Was it planned? Impulsive? We still don't really know.
And what about those two guys on the beach with the handgun? Did anything ever come of that?
Not that we know of. The sources you provided didn't say whether those men were ever identified.
So frustrating. It's like every lead we follow turns into another dead end.
It can be overwhelming, I know. But it's important to remember that this isn't just some abstract puzzle.
Right, there's a real person at the center of all this.
Alistair Wilson. A husband, a father.
Whose life was cut tragically short.
Exactly. And we can't forget about his family and what they've been through.
Especially his wife, Veronica. She's been fighting for justice for him all these years.
She's never given up hope.
It's inspiring, really. Okay, so we've talked about the evidence, the theories, the different people involved. But what about Alistair himself? What kind of guy was he?
He was a banker, a family man. Seemed like a pretty normal guy, actually.
Which makes this whole thing even more shocking, right?
Totally. It's like something out of a nightmare.
His poor family. Imagine losing someone like that and then having to deal with all the uncertainty and unanswered questions.
I can't even imagine Alistair's son, Andrew, has talked about how his only clear memory of his dad is seeing him lying on the ground after being shot.
Oh my God, that's awful. And Veronica, she must be so strong to have kept going all these years.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
She's been so determined to keep Alistair's memory alive and to find the truth.
It's amazing, really.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. The blue envelope, the gun, the decking dispute, the conflicting theories. What stands out to you the most?
Honestly, I keep coming back to that envelope.
Me too. It's just so bizarre.
The fact that it was empty, but the killer took it back. It's like it was meant to be a message, but a silent one.
Right. A message only Alistair would understand.
Maybe. Or maybe it was just about power, you know? The killer showing Alistair who was in control.
It's chilling when you think about it like that. So we're still left with the big question. Why?
Was it personal? Professional? Something else entirely? We may never know for sure.
Which is probably why this case is still so fascinating to people, even after all this time.
The mystery endures.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About the impact on everyone involved, not just Alistair himself.
Right, like what was their life like before all this?
Yeah, it sounds like they were a pretty normal family.
As far as we know, yeah, pretty ordinary life. Alistair worked at the bank.
Bank of Scotland, right.
That's right. And Veronica was in healthcare.
2 young boys.
Yeah, which makes it all the more shocking, you know? The sudden violent act.
It's that shattering of normalcy that I think gets to people.
Absolutely. 1 minute, life is normal, the next.
Everything changes.
And you're left trying to pick up the pieces, make sense of it all.
And sometimes there just aren't any answers.
Especially in a case like this, with so many twists and turns.
And don't forget about how the police mishandled things, like with that fake arrest.
Oh, right, yeah. Poor Veronica. Imagine going through all that.
It's like a betrayal on top of everything else.
Exactly. You're grieving, trying to be strong for your kids, and then you find out the people you're supposed to trust haven't been straight with you.
It's awful. But it sounds like Veronica never lost hope, you know?
She's incredibly resilient, kept pushing for answers, even when it seemed like there weren't any.
Which is why those new developments are so interesting, right?
Yeah.
With the new team on the case and all the advances in technology.
Yeah, maybe they'll find something that was missed before.
Like, what if they find new DNA evidence or something?
That would be huge.
It's crazy to think that even a tiny trace of something could crack the case wide open.
It happens all the time. Technology has come a long way.
Gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. So after looking at all this, what do you think is the most likely scenario?
Honestly, I still keep coming back to that blue envelope.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's just so weird.
It's like, why go through all that trouble if it wasn't important?
Right. Like, it had to have some meaning. But what?
Maybe it was a coded message, something only Alistair would understand.
Or maybe it was more about the act itself, you know?
The power dynamic, the control.
Like the killer was saying, I'm in charge here.
Exactly. But we're still left with the big question, why?
Was it about money? Revenge? Something else entirely?
It's impossible to say for sure, at least with what we know now.
Which is probably why this case is still so captivating, even after all these years, you know?
The mystery lives on.
Exactly. Well, this has been quite a deep dive. Lots of twists and turns, that's for sure.
Yeah, the Alistair Wilson case is one for the books.
Definitely makes you realize that even in the quietest places, something dark can be lurking.
Truth is stranger than fiction, as they say.
That's for sure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Alistair Wilson case, folks. It's been a fascinating, if a little unsettling, journey. We'll be sure to keep you updated if any new information comes to light.
Always good to explore these mysteries, even if we don't get all the answers.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that even in the face of tragedy, people like Veronica keep fighting for justice.
Absolutely. Never give up hope.
Well said.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay curious, everyone, and remember, the truth is out there,
Yeah.
somewhere.